Hey, welcome into the Stinkin Truth Podcast alongside Mike Evans. I'm Mark Schlereth. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Make sure you subscribe and join us on a weekly basis. Mike, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. You can tell by my attire. I was out at training camp practice.
Yes.
You are afraid to show off your legs for some reason. Maybe it's all the scars. I am not. Look at that calf. Look at that muscular calf right there. Go ahead.
I think that you probably ought to wear pants from now on because those are some pasty white giblets. Not a good look for you. Not a good look at all.
Well, hey, if you got to be out of training camp and see the things that we see and hear the things that we hear, you got to be prepared for it. But we heard some good things from we're out at Broncos camp, and you had a chance to talk privately, directly with Sean Payton, who shared some words that I think Bronco fans and maybe the rest of the AFC ought to pay attention to.
Sean Payton is funny. First off, he told me he listens to our morning show, right?
Okay.
He said, make sure you tell Stokely I said hi.
Brandon Stokely.
Brandon Stokely. And, I love you and I love Stokely. He goes, but I want to jump through the radio and strangle your host sometimes. That's you.
Me?
The host, yeah.
He wants to strangle me?
Strangle you. So he made sure for me to tell you that you drive him crazy. So I'm just letting you know.
Which is funny because I'm actually a big Sean Payton guy. Can you imagine if I was a Sean Payton critic?
Yeah, I
right?
know. But, you know how you try to spin it and try to create controversy. And, you're like doing a little internet show like Sean talked about. But in all seriousness, he did say that, by the way. But in all seriousness, he hates your guts. He hates you. But in all seriousness, so, I went up and saw him. We hadn't seen each other in a while. And dude, he was... I don't know what the right terminology is for just exuberant, excited. He's like, man, and I quote, I love this team. Now, subject to change, obviously, but really excited about second-year quarterback Bo Nix. Really excited about the free agents that they signed to become part of this team. Really excited about the team they have put together going forward. Really thinks that this could be a big-time season. Now, obviously, you got to play it out, right? And you're in one of the toughest divisions in football. We all think the Raiders are going to be better. We know that the Chargers are going to be physical, and they lost 2 games to the Chargers last year. We know what the Kansas City Chiefs are, and the fact that they've been to, 3 straight Super Bowls and won, how many they've won? 4 in the last 6 years or whatever it is. How many? No, 3. They've won 3, right, in the last 5 years, something like that. I gave them an extra Super Bowl. Shame on me. But the bottom line is he's super excited about this football team and the potential of this football team. And to watch him, he's a straight shooter, and sometimes he's tempered, and sometimes he's like, hey, man, we're going to be okay. We got some things to work through. You could see the unbridled enthusiasm that he has for the team that they have put together, the way they have structured it, and the people they've got in critical positions.
Well, I think a lot of it also comes from the fact that he feels really good about the quarterback that he has. And I don't think it is a stretch to say that he believes that he might have another Drew Brees in Bo Nix. And boy, Bo continues to check off all the right boxes when you hear him talk about the maturity. And he said something over the weekend that I know resonated with you when he talked about his approach. And he said a lot of what drives him is the fear of not being prepared, the fear of letting people down.
Yeah.
That fear that I think when you talk to a lot of great athletes, you'd be surprised how much the fear of not being ready, the fear of failure, drives these guys. All-time greats.
Yeah, some of the false bravado that's out there. Yeah. Usually, there's the arrogance versus confidence, right? The confidence comes from knowing that you're prepared. Arrogance comes from, hey, I haven't really prepared, but let me just puff my chest out, right? There's a difference there, and I want guys that are confident, not guys that are arrogant. And ultimately, I've always said this about my own career, I was completely motivated through fear and paranoia. I was so afraid of letting the guys down, so afraid of letting my team down, not being prepared, making a mental mistake that cost us, a big-time opportunity. And to hear Bo Nix say that from the quarterback position, man, my fear is letting these guys down. Therefore, I won't have, and I'm paraphrasing, but I'm not going to have a sophomore slump because I've done the work. Like, I'm not going to let them down, and I am ready to kind of take that next step. And that, to me, is so exciting. Like, leadership comes from when you care more about the people you lead than you care about yourself. And that, to me, is where he is. He's saying, hey, man, I care so much about the guys that play receiver, so much about the offensive line, so much about the running back, so much about my defense. I care so much about my coaching staff that I am going to make sure that I prepare so that I don't let anybody down, so that I can make that critical play, so I have the right call, so I know the adjustment. So when somebody shows us something that we haven't seen, one of those bastard looks, as we call them, I'll have the right check. I'll make the right play. And that, to me, is an exciting place to be. And Sean talked about, like, what he loves about Bo Nix, the minus differential plays, the sacks, the interceptions, and all those different things. His ability to scramble around and make an off-scheduled play, his ability not to take sacks. And Sean says something I've been saying for a couple of years to you, that sacks are not an offensive line statistic as much as they are a quarterback statistic. And Sean said in his press conference on Saturday, sacks come from the quarterback position much more so than they come from the offensive line. And one of the things I love about Bo Nix is that guy steps up in the pocket. That guy doesn't escape out of the back of the pocket. That guy is not scrambling himself into sacks. He's scrambling himself into big plays and opportunities and making sure he protects the football. And when you have those kind of elements to your quarterback in that quarterback position, oh, man, what an unbelievable opportunity you have to continue to build on the foundation that was set last year.
Well, Bo trying to get to that level of being a great quarterback like an Aaron Rodgers, who invoked the names of a lot of quarterbacks that had a profound effect on his career coming up through the ranks, as he was responding to some comments that Terry Bradshaw made several months ago when Rodgers joined the Steelers. Of course, Bradshaw, the former four-time Super Bowl great Steeler quarterback, not really happy with the idea of the Steelers reaching out to Aaron Rodgers, said that Rodgers should, quote, stay in California, eat bark, and continue to whisper to the gods. And Rodgers responded to that, talking to Kyle Brandt, and he was very classy about it. He said, I think Terry's guilty maybe of what a lot of people are guilty of. They don't really know the real me, and I would love to get a chance to know Terry Bradshaw, because guys like Terry Bradshaw, and then he listed a whole bunch of quarterbacks, Troy Aikman, Steve Young, they're the reason why we get to play this game and get paid like kings. So it was a very classy answer from Aaron Rodgers, who wrapped it up by saying, hey, maybe Terry and I can get together and eat some bark or whatever the hell he was talking about, right, and form a relationship.
Yeah, which I thought was really cool. The thing I loved about his response to Terry, right? There was deference to the quarterbacks who have paved the way for him to make that king's salary. And I always felt that way about my own career. Like, man, I have such deference for the guys who did it before me and the guys who paved the way, the guys who didn't have it as good as I had it. And I wanted to make the league as good a place as I could make it during my time in the league. So I want to make sure I dealt with them with class and with reverence, deference, and try to leave the league a better place. And he's got a great understanding of the history of the league, because he came in at a time where, he grew up loving the game. And it's interesting, most of the players, like I come across the players, and when I'm calling a game for Fox, most players don't know who I am or that I played. And nor do they really care, and I don't blame them for that. But in my generation, even in Aaron's generation, we grew up falling in love with the NFL because we watched it and we studied it and we knew the history of it. And it's different today because most of the kids that come up loving the NFL love it from Madden, like the video game. That's kind of where they are. And I remember doing a game in I don't know where we were. No, we were in Detroit, but we were doing Detroit and Chicago. And it was right after Montez Sweat got traded from the Washington Commanders to the Bears. And so it was like his first or second game with the Bears. So I said, hey, man, let me get Montez. I want to talk to Montez, right? And so Montez enters our meeting room. We're at their team hotel, right? We've got a little conference room, right? And he comes in there, and we kind of dap up, right? And he shakes my hand, and he kind of grabs my arm, and he goes, dude, you're a pretty big dude. You play some ball? And I was like, yeah, I played some ball. He goes, would you play in college? I go, yeah, I played in college. And he goes, oh, all right. And he sat down, and he was satisfied with that answer.
Yeah.
And so my producer was a little irritated, right? He was like I was fine, but my producer
was protecting his guy's stink.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, he started for 12 years in the league, has 3 world championships. And as a matter of fact, he goes, when you walked into the Washington meeting room for the last 6 years, his picture is hanging there as one of the Super Bowl champions. He was on the last Super Bowl championship that Washington won. And and it was funny, but he doesn't, I don't expect him to know that. I don't expect him to know anything about me.
Did he then bend the knee? Did he?
No, it was just like.
But was there a little acknowledgement of okay?
Yeah. No, definitely, and he was nothing but respectful, and he was funny. He was great. It was a great conversation, but Aaron came at a time when he understood.
Yeah.
He watched all those quarterbacks play. He watched what a difference they made in the league. He watched how the league and the salaries have just climbed and climbed and climbed. And so there's, like I said, there's deference to Terry Bradshaw. And I thought it was cool that he invited Terry. He's like, man, I'd love to get to know Terry. I'd love to have those conversations. And one of the things, you can say whatever you want about Aaron. I just want my privacy, and then he does a Netflix show, right? And I get it. You roll your eyes, and I roll my eyes too. And Aaron knows that, I love the guy. I always have, and I have a, more of a personal relationship with the guy. But he is incredibly thoughtful. He's incredibly smart. And he's just an intricate individual. And so I just appreciate all that he's done in this league. I appreciate, how he's grown as not only as a quarterback, but a human. And he's just a really interesting, smart individual.
All right, flat out, look right into that camera and tell Steeler fans, is Aaron Rodgers going to be a success this year?
I do. I believe that Aaron Rodgers is going to be a success this year. And I think one of the things that really resonated with me is this spring, while I was still doing my TV show before I was fired, he had said some things about how he wanted to finish. And, you had to read the tea leaves a little bit, but he basically said, man, if you read the tea leaves, I was unsatisfied with the way it went. I was dissatisfied with the results. And, it started with the Achilles injury with the Jets. He runs out there with the flag, and it's one of the great moments, to start a season, and 4 plays later, he's out for the year, right? And then last year, having some injuries early in the season that he played through and not playing really well and having opportunities to drive the team down to get a victory. And then Robert Saleh gets fired, and and then it's just a complete and total poop show after that. But there's, I don't want to say regret, but disappointment in the way it went with the Jets for the last 2 years. So I do believe that he has got unfinished business. And I love the way they set their team up. I love the way they went with the 2 tight ends, and they got Jonnu Smith along with Freiermuth, and they went out and got Robert Woods, who's just a consummate professional at the receiver position. DK Metcalf, I like the way they're kind of structured. Arthur Smith is an offensive coordinator, how he kind of melds together what Aaron Rodgers does exceptionally well and that run game. And if you go back to his Green Bay Packer time, and I talked with him at length about LaFleur when LaFleur first came in after Mike McCarthy was let go, and how Aaron was really hesitant to kind of let the offense do what the offense does, the structure of the offense, and kind of what they came to an agreement on, he and LaFleur, were, let me, as the head coach and the play caller and the kind of quote-unquote coordinator, let me take care of first and second down. Let me take that off your plate. Let's let the offense operate. Third down, you can do what you've always done. Third down, you can pick your matchup that you like. You can change plays. You can do that. You convert on third down. Let me take first and second down off your plate. And, he won, 2 MVPs under LaFleur doing that? And so if they can come to that kind of agreement in Pittsburgh with Arthur Smith, hey, let me take care of first and second down. Let me run the ball. Let me take some pressure off you from a protection standpoint. Let me manipulate the formations and the personnel groupings, and then you go ahead and pick your best matchup on third down. So I love some of the stuff they did. I love some of the stuff they did on the defensive side of the ball as well.
Always love talking quarterbacks. There have been some reports that Caleb Williams off to a slow start in this camp with Chicago, and Ben Johnson was talking about the idea that, Caleb Williams is almost like starting from, scratch.
Yeah.
Didn't exactly give a ringing endorsement for the job that Matt Eberflus and crew did with Caleb last year. You got a chance to know Ben Johnson pretty well in calling a number of Lions games over the years. What should Bears fans expect from Ben Johnson now that he's in charge? What do you know about the offense, and how long will it take Caleb Williams to really get comfortable working with Ben Johnson?
Yeah, well, it's obviously a new offense, right? And so now if you're a Bears fan, you have to understand there's going to be growing pains there. I think there's a couple of things that really resonate with me and in regards to Ben Johnson. One, the relationship he had with Jared Goff. Like, Jared Goff is a top 10, top 7 quarterback that we never talk about. And now Jared, I will say this, Jared is incredibly accurate, and Jared's got big time balls. Like, he will throw it into a window that you're like, that is not open. Like, that's the difference between college football and professional football. What is completely covered in college is wide open in the NFL. And you got to have, the coin purse hanging between your legs to make those throws. Like, you got to be able to have enough change in your coin purse to say, hey, man, I'm going after that, and I'm going to throw it right there, on the hands of that receiver, and I'm going to lead him away from, punishment and harm's way. I'm going to lead him away from leverage so that he can turn, spin, and get me a couple extra yards. And Goff does that exceptionally well. And those two were so tied together in critical moments and critical situations. So Goff knew, hey, man, we're in this situation in the red zone, third down and whatever. I know exactly what's coming in. So I think that's big. The other thing that probably doesn't get the credit, because we get enamored with the big plays over the top in the passing game, right? We get enamored with Amon-Ra St. Brown. We get enamored with, what's the kid's name? Jameson Williams, right? And his ability to lift the top of coverage. We get enamored with the trick plays, the laterals, and all the different things they do, throwing it to Penei Sewell and all that stuff. But what we tend to fail to recognize is how dominant they were running the football. And it's funny, I'm doing a Detroit game. I think it was early this season. I think it was maybe week 2 or week 1. And I went back and was like, hey, man, to one of our PAs, one of our production assistants, I go, do me a favor, go to Elias and find out where the Detroit Lions have been over the last 2 years of Ben Johnson coaching as far as second down and long and third down and long run plays. Anything over 4 yards, right? Anything like 4 to 6, second down 4 to 6, third down 4 to 6, whatever you want to, and where they rank as a team that runs the ball. And I go, I guarantee you it's got to be at the very top of the pack. And I think they came in at number 2. Mm-hmm. And now part of that is because Dan Campbell's philosophy is we're going to go for it on fourth down. So you're going to get more opportunities to look at third down like it's second down, right? And you're going to be able to run the ball. But one of the things you get in third down and 4 to 6 or third down and 7+, you get favorable run looks. You get favorable, like from a size differential, you get nickel, you get big dime, whatever it is. You get pass coverage type of players playing in those situations. So they are a great inside trap team on third down and 4 to 6. And the conversions they get. And just their run game in general, man, the thing that people just tend not to associate with Detroit is the physical nature with which they play, because you get so caught up in the trick plays, you get so caught up in the big-time passing plays that'll take a lot of pressure.
But does Chicago have that kind of offensive line and running game to be able to take that
So
off of Caleb's plate.
I talked to Ben. Oh gosh, this is probably 6 weeks ago. Again, before I got fired. And I talked to him.
No bitterness whatsoever coming from Mark Schlereth. None at all.
I'm not bitter at all. I'm like I'm happy that I had the opportunity. But I was texting with him before the show, and he's like, "Man, wait till you see this offensive line that we've put together." That was the first thing he said to me in the text. Like, this is going to be a much better group. And they went out and got Dahlman, the center from Atlanta, who I think is a really good player. They went out and got Tooney from Kansas City, who's a really good player. They have bolstered their offensive line because Ben Johnson understands what it takes to win in this league. You've got to be able to run the ball. You've got to be able to dictate in certain situations. And it's not just running the ball and popping, a trap play on 3rd down and 6 and, excuse your numbers. It's my ability to run the ball out of 2-back, out of 1-back, on 1st down, on 2nd down. Like, they are a team that understands that value and what it does to them with their trick plays, what it does to them with their play action passing game. So, yeah, there's going to be a learning curve, right? And he's probably going to struggle early. But they've got some weapons. They've invested in weapons, and now in this offseason, Ben Johnson comes in and says, to their GM, "Hey, man, we got to invest in the hog mollies up front," and they did that.
Do you ever think you'd see a day where the Detroit Lions model would be one that teams would be looking to emulate and copy? But why wouldn't you? You know?
I just think it's so cool, man. Dan Campbell was on the 0-16 Detroit Lions team as a player, and now he's got an opportunity. They win 15 games last year, but they had so many injuries on the defensive side. Still one of the favorite teams in the NFC, along with Philadelphia, obviously, and a couple other teams that you look at as potential Super Bowl contenders.
Talk about guys getting paid like kings. Rodgers talking about guys getting paid like kings. Micah Parsons would like to get paid like a king, and Cowboy fans would like to see Micah Parsons get paid like a king, as over the weekend at Cowboys practice, with Jerry Jones, of course, in attendance, pay Micah chants broke out. So Cowboy fans sending the message, is Jerry Jones going to receive it? Hear it.
Well, he's going to have to, right? And
is he?
I mean, that's what happened with Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's still the highest paid quarterback in the National Football League. And you continue to push it off. And when did he sign? He signed right before the first game of the season last year. So I don't understand. This is what I don't understand.
Does he do it for the attention? I'm talking about Jerry.
Yeah, I think maybe he doesn't care about the cap ramifications or whatever. He just wants to be the last guy to make a headline. Yeah. And he wants to be like I don't know if that's more important than actual winning, but it seems to be what he's looking for, the attention more than the value, and managing your cap the proper way. Like, Micah Parsons going to set the market, right? So it was Myles Garrett who set the market. And then, TJ Watt just recently reset the market, and Micah Parsons will reset the market again. So I always tell you, I'd rather sign a guy a year early than a year too late, or continue to push it off. So if they knew that Micah Parsons was a superstar, now he missed 5 or 6 games last year, but they knew from day one, from game one, the guy was a superstar. So as soon as you have the opportunity to lock him up to a long-term deal, you lock him up to a long-term deal, because ultimately you manage your cap better that way. And then, you keep kicking the can down the road with restructures, and you push it out over years, and you keep the cap value and the cap number low. So Micah Parsons is going to reset the market. Just when is he going to reset the market? Tomorrow? The next day? You just waiting to be the last guy in? If you're Jerry Jones, you're just waiting. Like, anybody else going to sign? Anybody else going to, trump the market? Anybody else going to sign the biggest deal in the history of the National Football League that isn't a quarterback deal? Wait. No, nobody else is. Okay, now I'll do it. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't help your football team. It doesn't help. It creates animosity in the locker room, because why has this guy got to wait? And then it creates cap issues for you down the road. So why they do it that way, I'm with you. I think it's about the show. I think it's about the big top. I think it's about the greatest show, the greatest show under the big top, and that's the Dallas Cowboys. And ultimately, that just makes it that much tougher to win. And you've got like the two toughest divisions in football right now. The AFC West, I think everybody would agree that the AFC West is probably one of, if not the toughest division of football, and the NFC East. With the Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles, with the NFC, they went to the NFC Championship game, the Washington Commanders. You think the Cowboys should be better. The Giants have got a stellar defense. We'll see what they are on the offensive side of the ball. But ultimately, it's a tough division.
On the subject of money, Christian Wilkins cut loose by the Raiders in a shocking move. And speaking of money, now the initial report was that the Raiders weren't happy with the way he was coming back from an injury that he suffered last year. But if you're trying to avoid the remaining deals and money on a contract, you can't make it simply about injury, right?
Mm-hmm, right.
So now the latest twist to it is that, well, there was an incident with a teammate that triggered this. Okay,
Right.
Who's telling the truth here?
Right.
What's the real story?
Then it becomes conduct detrimental to the team. Can we get some of that money back?
Right.
You start looking at it from that standpoint. I have no idea, but I'm fascinated by it because Christian Wilkins, when he was with Miami, I thought he was a damn good player, and I still think he's probably a damn good player.
Got a 4-year, $110 million contract from the Raiders.
I don't know about the foot injury that he sustained and where he is in the rehab process. And, if they're upset about that, I have no idea. And I don't know what exactly the reports are. I read a bunch of stuff earlier today about, having a scuffle with a teammate or something went down with a teammate. Man, that stuff happens in a locker room all the time. There are personalities that you don't necessarily get along with. Maybe you have a little scuffle with one of the offensive linemen out of practice or walk through, whatever it is. I don't know. Maybe, you don't know. You hear about guys hitting on guys' girlfriends and different things of that nature. So I have no idea what the potential, tete-a-tete is within the locker room. But it does feel a little fishy to me if you're trying to move on from that, the guarantees in that contract, that all of a sudden it's about, hey, you like a lack of harmony within the locker room. That one feels a little bit fishy to me.
Raiders, the more things change, the more they stay the same, huh?
Well, hopefully, because I'm a Bronco fan and I hate the Raiders, and so I want to see them, struggle. And I've been on record saying I think they're going to be much better this year with Geno being there, with Pete Carroll being there. It goes against everything I believe to say something nice about a Boise State player, but I loved Ashton Genty. So I do think they've got the makings of a team that could be competitive in that division.
Your Broncos bias aside, let me speak for the rest of the NFL. Certainly let me speak for Roger Goodell and the networks. The league is much better off when the Raiders are relevant and good. So as an NFL fan,
at least
I say here it comes.
No, I agree with you at least, but nobody remembers. Like it's hard to remember back to 2000 when the Raiders were relevant, right? It was a long time ago. Very long time ago. So
Are you finished? Are you finished with your unrelenting venom?
It's not venom.
It's good for the league.
Dude, they were my personal good things. 11-1 against their punk asses my 6 years here in Denver. Like the Raiders.
Raider Nation, I'm trying.
No,
Look what I'm working with here.
Yeah, I love the Raiders.
Yeah.
that was easy money. Championship. Anyhow, for everybody involved in the Stinking Truth podcast, for Mike, I am Mark. Thank you so much for being with us. Going to be a little wonky the next couple of weeks because I'm off next week, or try to get at least one, maybe two. Maybe I'll do one from Alaska.
Oh, you're going to be in Alaska?
Yeah, I'm going to go up and see my dad.
Good
His birthday, August.
Poolside. All right.
Poolside will be 86.
All right.
Maybe we'll get a candid shot of him working out in the yard.
I guarantee you, he has a to-do list already made for when you get out, projects and everything.
There is zero question.
You're going to be moving some dirt,
and there's zero question. I have a pile of topsoil ready for me to move. So we're going to go up there. So the next couple of weeks is going to be a little wonky. Like I said last week, we are going to start going 3 days a week on the Stinkin' Truth podcast. Going to start trying to implement some interviews with some coaches and some things of that nature. So make sure you stay tuned, because we are growing, and we thank you for growing along with us. For everybody involved, thank you so much for being part of our show. We appreciate you.